When one up heads down under, shenanigans unfold, and that is exactly what is in store for our 42 truckers this afternoon at Oran Park Raceway in the heart of Australia. This 1.6-mile road course is full of plenty of challenges, and it's going to take every bit of these drivers' skills to be able to stay on track for the entire 27 laps of this race here at Oran Park Raceway. It's our first road course race of the season for the Turbo Truck Series, race number 5 overall, and the winner of this race will have fully deserved it. They've survived a minefield out there. And alongside me to break it all down for you once again is Ryan Griffin, as per usual. Now, I know it's well known these are not your preferred track types, but we got a few of them to go for this season, and these drivers are going to have to learn to adapt to them, especially at the place like this, where the track is so slippery you can easily go off into the barriers. Every bit of skills needed to survive here.
Yeah, I may not be good at these tracks, but that doesn't mean that these tracks aren't short of action here. And it's interesting to watch, drivers when they come in. You can really see who the good, overall drivers are by watching them on road courses and the way they attack these tracks. And really, if you win here and win in a race here on this type of track, it really is something special because you were the best at this discipline, which is so difficult for so many people to do. Hell, I'm still struggling with it, and I was the champion last year in the series. So I guess we'll see what happens today. I mean, it could be crazy. It's more than likely going to be crazy given the track conditions, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, these drivers had several offs in practice and in qualifying, so a few heavy hitters are going to be starting at the back of the field for these 27 laps here at Oran Park. As we can now bring you the full starting lineup for today's race. Jeremy Whalen, the Daytona winner, puts himself on pole position for the first time this season. Lag Vishurin in the 04, he's known for his road course racing skills. He lines up second. Francois Chastain won at Pukekohe last year, which is our next race after this one. He starts third. Kev Shearer and Brandon Smith ran out the top 5. And we've got a bunch of drivers dipping down from the Nitro National and Superstar Series in this race. We have Zachary Fitzwater starting 14th. We have Austin Holloman 27th. James Ellison in the 30th starting spot. Allison Liara starting 12th. These drivers, they know how to get around these racetracks in other disciplines, but they haven't driven a truck around this Oran Park circuit, so they may be just as fresh-faced as everyone else here. Getting ready for the green flag here at Oran Park. It is out in the air. We're underway for 27 laps. Whalen off to a fantastic start. Diving it off into turn 1, heading for the first braking zone of the race in turn 2. And it looks like everybody's single file for the most part. Chastain and Shearer side by side for third. Looks like the 02 might win that out as we go through a series of right-handers through 3 and 4.
Yeah, see, look at the chaos here at the back as we got started going, as they're already 3 wide at the back trying to make these tight corners, and this is going to be an action-packed thing today as Whalen out front, the Daytona winner, has had a pretty consistent season to the start of the year, and really outside, though, of the Daytona win, has not really been a threat for a win in recent races, so this could be a good momentum burst builder for him. There's the 18 of Brandon Smith now moving into... Couldn't quite see what position that was for, but he moves up a position as we got a couple trucks off and in the gravel trap.
Yeah, that was Chastain and Sariev in the 39, making his first start of the season. And Zachary Fitzwater almost gets hooked by Allison Liara off of the final corner, turn 12. And with that, everybody completes lap 1 unscathed. Pretty impressive for this racetrack, but there's still 26 laps to go, and a lot can still happen.
Yeah, and I should say a couple of trucks are dirtier now on this lap than they were the previous lap. We're running through the gravel, but they stay on track, and of course we're fine at the moment. But yeah, Whalen, going back to Whalen for a second, I was saying it's interesting to see. He won the opening race at Daytona. As I said, he's not so much had a terrible or a bad start to the season. It's just he hasn't been. We've seen dominating performance for drivers the last couple of races, so it's nice to see this Daytona, to see Whalen up here trying to try to gain back some of that momentum he had after the Daytona win. And I mentioned Brandon Smith because he's already had 2 of his teammates this year already win in dominating fashion, and I stated kind of, I think last week that Smith's time was coming. We'll see what he can do here today as he's up into the 6th position.
And here's one of those teammates, Nelson Reeves. He gets into the back of Billy Kidd in the 72. They're battling it out for a spot in the top 10. Liara and Fitzwater back there battling for 12th. And once again, we have no real incidents to report in the first 2 laps. An impressive feat considering all the chaos and testing we've had here. But everybody's facing in the right direction. Everybody's continuing off to a good start, from Whalen up front to Mac Johnson in 42nd. And as they head off towards turn 4, Whalen's lead, it's starting to build.
And that's the thing about these kind of races, is you want to... Again, this is weird coming from somebody who doesn't particularly like these races, these kind of racing on this type of track, but you got to be consistent. You got to be disciplined. And Whalen right now, just all he's trying to do in this instance is just, he's not even worried necessarily about the length of the lead. He's just trying to make sure he hits his marks every corner, hits his apexes as he needs to, hits his shifts as he needs to, and just doing everything he can to keep that truck on the road going forward. And right now he's doing it pretty good here so far through 3 laps, keeping ahead of that 04. And then you have that's Shearer, I believe, in 3rd.
Yes, it is.
And then you have the 6 and the 1. So it's just going to be a matter of, to do well on these types of tracks, you just want to be consistent. As we had a little bit of action down there again, I think a couple trucks may have run off into that gravel trap again.
It's good. Yeah, these trucks are they haven't been able to stay on track much this weekend, and that's continuing here in the race. But they're doing a nice job keeping it out of the barriers. As long as you can keep it off the walls, you should be in fair shape. Even if you go into the gravel a little bit, you should be able to recover and to rejoin the race with only a few positions lost. But Whalen's lead now 1.4 seconds over the 04 truck, and this should be... Well, this is going to be a split strategy race. If Whalen and the others decide to pit, and someone else in the back decides, you know what, I'm going to gamble, maybe a Leach who's got nothing to lose, or someone who already has a win, they might go for it. You never know. But track position is going to be absolutely critical in this race. As you can see, it's pretty tricky to pass once the opening laps are done.
It's funny you mentioned about pit strategy. We have a truck off.
And it's Levi Thorley with a huge amount of damage in that 00 Chevrolet. And I think that's his race run and done here at Oran Park. He will be our first retirement on lap number 4. It's a real shame because Thorley, he got his first top 10 of the season at Phoenix. And now he goes from that to being the first one out, as it looks like Brian Grigsby also has a little bit of damage on the right-hand side. Maybe he's the one that got into Levi Thorley, but regardless, both trucks with a lot of damage, and the 00 done for the day.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when it happens here early because, you know, it basically does become a race of kind of survival on road courses where you want to be the last man standing, because most of the time we see a lot of drivers finish on the lead lap in these things, so it's hard to make up positions from incidents happen unless you have a bunch of incidents. So that's really unfortunate for that 00.
Yep, and he will have to move on to Pukekohe Park, a track just as chaotic as this one, where hopefully he can survive there and score a much-needed good finish there. As we look now at the front of the field, and then at the back, we're looking to see, oh, we got Holloman off track. This is his home race for Austin Holloman, driving a one-off for Renegade Motorsports in the 73 machine. But at this point in time, he's not having a particularly strong run, but he's doing what he needs to do, keeping the truck on track for the most part, and just hanging in there for now. He was in the top 30. He's probably fallen out as a result of that off. But up at the front of the field, Whalen's lead is starting to shrink a little bit. So maybe Arbon's starting to get a run through some of the corners where Whalen's getting a bit sideways, because you need to carry as much momentum as possible going through here.
Yeah, and again, it's the give and take kind of road courses, and it's just, if somebody hits all their marks and does everything they're supposed to do, sometimes you can gain on the competitor that may have a mistake on a lap. And apparently that's what we're seeing right now, is the 04 is just capitalizing on, making as least mistakes as he can, while Whalen, he may have made a mistake or two, and that's what allowed the 04 to catch back to him.
And we were looking for a moment at Roger James in that 22 truck. This is his first start for the Finn Guy team, as Aiden Smith goes off track a little bit. He was running near the tail end of the field anyway, but he might fall into the clutches of Brian Grigsby, who's trying to make his way back through the field after his incident with Levi Forley. But up the bridge they go towards turn 6, and Wayland's lead is pretty much stabilized about 9/10 of a second. And we're only about 5 to 8 laps away from our pit cycle, should these drivers care to peel off for fresh tires, maybe give them an advantage over those who non-stop this race.
And just something else I wanted to touch on with road courses. I heard there was an old saying a few years ago that came about not a similar track to this one, but Watkins Glen International, which is a road course. And it's the adage that, black is good, green is okay, and brown is terrible, and blue is bad. And that was basically the retaining wall. It's the pieces of the track. You basically want to stay on the road, stay off the grass, stay out of the gravel trap, and don't end up in the barrier. And it's kind of a good analogy for any road course. Black is where you want to be on the pavement. Be on the pavement throughout the day. And as we've seen a couple of people come off. We've seen already one incident where one truck is out of the race now. So it's just all about being consistent. And Wayland, honestly, at this point, it's not so much that he's pushing it. It's almost like he's just trying to conserve his stuff, make sure he's hitting his marks, make sure he's doing everything right, because when you start up front on a road course, you already have that benefit of having the track position. You just have to make sure you don't make any mistakes to take you out of that track position.
Right.
As we still continue to see some dust there from that runoff area where a couple trucks have gone off now, and we're going to pretty much see that all day.
Yeah, that's pretty much the hot spot for cars going off track, that and turn 9 as well. But everybody's clearing through so far. We've got several trucks making their way through, and Allison Liara, I'm sure she'd rather not be racing in this race given the circumstances, but considering everything that's befell that 4 team, just making it here to the racetrack and putting in a solid performance. She's running in the top 15, doing a fantastic job for that organization. It really needs something good to happen. This is just making it here to Australia and running in this race. That's a win for that Ford group.
Yeah, I'll kind of add a little bit to that. As race car drivers, you almost get an extra. I want to say you almost get an extra bit of determination when something happens, when circumstances aren't so great around you and something happens, you have to go on. And it's amazing how race car drivers can step up and get things done. And while it may not be the ideal circumstance for how she ended up in that truck, but at least she's giving them a showing today. And who knows, they're very close to the top 10. They very well can get a top 10 run out of that truck today.
Got to get past a few trucks to make it happen. You saw Zachary Fitzwater making his Truck Series debut in the 45. He's running a solid 12th in the race right now, as Grigsby's made it past a few trucks. As looks like the 82 of Sarakov went off track last lap. He's fallen quite a ways behind the back end of the field. Grigsby, he's just putting on a big charge. He's up to, I believe, that is 39th position now. He's doing whatever he can, and what he might do, he might try and non-stop this race and jump a few cars that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Brian's kind of the same boat as I am, and not really a big fan of these type tracks, and he's not doing so hot here early on, but he's doing the one thing that matters most, and he's gaining position. So as long as you gain positions, even if you start, tailing Charlie in the field and you're not running all that great, every position can mean points at the end of the season, and any spot you can gain can help you in the long run.
Yeah, it's a little surprising we haven't had more cars knock that wall down out of turn 12. That's going to be... We've seen that happen a lot in testing, but as we've seen already, this race has actually been a lot calmer than any of the tests we've had at Oran Park. So maybe these guys have just learned this racetrack and have adapted to its many twists and turns, its unique challenges. So far, we've only had one retirement from the race, and while we've had several trucks go off track, only one of those was race-ending.
Yeah, and so far, too, we talk about how much track position matters on these tracks. I mean, pretty much the top 3 spots have been pretty much the top 3 spots since we started the race. So That's why it's so key that you want to be consistent and you want to just focus. Honestly, when it comes to road racing, you want to focus on your own race. As much as you want to beat that truck in front of you and beat your fellow competitor, you got to tidy up your ship first to make sure you're the one that's, surviving at the end of the day versus somebody that maybe, fortunately, like we saw with the 00 earlier out of the race. So, well, we got one taker on pit road.
Yeah, I don't think this is scheduled. That might be James. That's James Ellison in the 37. We saw he had damage from earlier in the race. He might have gone off track a little bit. Brian Grigsby comes in as well. They're going to rejoin one lap down. Unfortunately for them, that's just a tough break for both those guys. Grigsby needing good points, and Ellison for making his first truck start of the season for a very tired-out BTB Motorsports team. This is this 37 truck's first start of the season. They failed to qualify each of the first 4 races, but Ellison got them in the field this time. That's just like I said with the 4 truck, making this race was a big win for that 37 group, and hopefully this gives them some momentum heading towards New Zealand.
Yeah, that's the thing. We look at guys that run in the top 10 or top 5 on a given basis, and we say it's a good run, but at the same time, there's teams that would kill just to be in the race and finish pretty much anywhere, and it's kind of neat to see a team, even though it's not exactly where they want to be running probably, but the fact that they made the race and they're sitting here and we gave them some screen time, it's big for sponsors, it's big for the team, it's big for the driver. Well, not so much the driver because Ellison has other things he runs in the series, but it is kind of neat just to give the team some exposure, and I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yeah, and the good news for Ellison now is he can absolutely make it to the end of the race now. So he can focus on putting those fresh tires to good use and maybe pass the 18 on the 1, put as many trucks between himself and the next guy as possible. So if these leaders pull off the pit soon, he'll be able to get back on the lead lap afterwards. But it's still a big if on if a few of these guys are going to stay out the whole way or if they're going to come in halfway through and top off with fuel and maybe put some fresh tires on. Because we don't know which strategy is the better one here. We've done a lot of testing, we've ran a lot of practice, but it's no guarantees. As looks like, oh, we got takers. It's Waylon into the pits, followed by the 04, and it looks like Kev's staying on the racetrack.
What you're going to stay out is Waylon's going to lead a couple of these lead lap trucks on. We see the 18, we see Chastain the 1.
Oh, and it looks like Billy Kidd tried to make it into the pits, but committed too late. He's going to have to go another lap around.
So yeah, pretty much as we were pretty much talking about it, it's pretty much going to be split strategy, at least so far for this initial round here. We'll see if anybody else comes in next time by, but right now it appears just kind of split strategies. We'll see which one actually pays off, and especially what we've seen out of this 02 this year, it's interesting that they're going to try this split strategy, but who knows? I mean, they dominated one race and won it, but what's to say they couldn't go and win another race? I mean, Kev, coming into this race, he's only 1 win away from tying the series record for wins, which is held by yours truly. And I said going in, I really felt that this 02 team in Sheer really was maybe a threat to break that record and maybe even put it at a mark that makes it tough for anybody else to try to get it, as he's now going to hit pit road.
Yeah, and then Ellison stays out. We saw that one coming. Here comes Jensen Nomina. He's going to peel off to pit. Roger James, Nelson Reeves, they're going to come in as well. Billy Kidd finally makes it to pit road, but Zachary Fitzwater stays on the racetrack, as does Bronson Minnick. So those guys might try and non-stop this race. We'll see if that works out for them. They've got about 13 laps to make it to the end.
You see Fitzwater again. He's basically a leech here today. The Superstar Series driver, who I pretty much know him from when I was in the booth helping to commentate the Superstar race where he flipped, I believe it was Kansas last year. But he's a personality. He is such a fun person to watch, to have a conversation with in the garage area, and he pretty much loves these type tracks. And honestly, if you're going to learn from somebody who knows these tracks better than anybody else, it would be Zachary Fitzwater when it comes to learning how to run on a road course.
And honestly, and this is his home race as well. Oran Park, he's been lobbying for a race out here for so long, and he gets one. He's gonna enter this race, and boy, wouldn't it be something if he would be the one to pull it in at the race's end. But these guys back here, Waylon, Lagvishurin, and Kev Shearer, they are now running, I believe, 12th, 13th, and 14th, as you see Sarakov exiting the pits. But yeah, Fitzwater and Minnick and the rest of these, the top 11, I think they're going to try and non-stop this race.
What's interesting to note, and we saw it there a little bit when we were touching on the fact that you had Whalen the 04 and Shearer back together again. Shearer and the 04 closed the gap to the 83 through that cycle. So maybe that could be something to keep an eye on. Maybe the fresher tires can make a difference for Kev. But it is going to be interesting with this group that stayed out, and as you said, might try to stretch it the whole distance. Do the tires make enough of a difference to where, you know, the 83, the 04, and the 02 can catch the 45 and the rest of the leaders?
Yeah, and remember, they have to make up around 20 seconds or so on this racetrack to even think about catching up to the lead. So they're going to have to pump in some very solid laps for the remainder of this race and slice through traffic the best of anybody to try and make this happen. Of course, if Fitzwater, Minnick, and the others, if they have to pit at the very end, it's game, set, match. Those three are going to be battling it out for the win. But there's a lot that can happen in the final 11 laps, and Zachary Fitzwater is just hoping it goes nice and smooth for that 45 truck.
Yeah, and then also Fitzwater's hoping he doesn't run into anybody who knows his history or seen his history is stuff he said. He does not like lap traffic, which with the different strategies, there very could be the possibility that he catches some trucks, and if he does, we'll see how they affect that as well.
Yeah, we're looking now to see the stragglers on the track, and it looks like we had another incident. This one, and it's Jacob Buchholz and Henry Brown. They were both running in the top 10. Now they're out of the race.
Well, that's also 2 spots closer for the group that pitted as well. So I don't know how much, if it's going to be anything in track time, but that's definitely 2 more spots that they gained because of that incident.
Tough break, too, because Henry Brown was doing a strong job in the top 5. Jacob Buchholz in the top 10 as well. Now they're going to leave with 2 and 3 points, respectively, and they're going to have to go to Pukekohe and hope for better. But here's the battle for the net lead of the race. If those guys up front have the pit, Whalen goes wide. That allows the 04 to the front. Well, it's not really the front, but give or take a few spots, it's 11th place for now. But if this top 10 has the pit, that's the battle for the lead right there.
And honestly, I think, I know the 04 just took the spot from the 83. I think the 02 might be the strongest of these 3 trucks at the moment. But obviously, Kev it's very hard to pass here, so you got to take your opportunities where you can get them. And, you know, that's why Kev might be 3rd, but he did close his gap big time on these guys. But again, this is all assuming that the trucks in front of them do come to pit road. If not, then this pretty much is just a battle for the back half of the top 10, as the 98 currently runs in 10th at this moment. So these guys are just outside the top 10 at the moment.
And look at all these cars, these trucks that started well outside the top 30 and are now doing a solid job. Of course, Fitzwater started 14th, Minnick 17th, but then you got guys like Giovanni Pena, he started 36th. Chris Harvey, he started 33rd. Dalton Sate, 38th. The list goes on and on. Aguo Zhao started last in this race, and he's now running 10th. This just goes to show you, track position is everything. And with these guys stretching out their fuel, they could be in store for a top 10 today.
You see, when you're starting at the back of the back, and you're looking for something creative to try to gain track position, sometimes strategy is the way to go. And at a track like here, where anything can happen at any particular corner, you really have to try to do something different to see, hey, maybe it can pay off in the end.
Yeah, and it looks like Fitzwater's lead's growing to about 2.8. Not that it matters that much. His focus now is just trying to save fuel and make it to the end of the race without stopping. But this is a fantastic effort from this 45. Pirate Bay Motorsports, they've launched a full-time effort this season. This is their first race with 3 trucks in the field. the 45 of Fitzwater, the 44 Austin Zorgan, and the 49 of Ali Ahmed. Oh, hey, we got a crash.
And there goes Wayland and the 04.
That's big.
In the gravel trap.
That is huge for this race, as the 04 had such a strong run going, but it's all for naught. This could be the end of the day, or at least the end of competitive running, as Saryev goes off the racetrack as well. But for Arbon Lagvashura, and that is a heartbreaker as he peels off to pit again, and that's gonna take a couple laps to fix. That's just a very tough break for those guys. They were in the right position. They were trying to get back to the front, and I guess they just got a bit impatient with each other.
And you see, that's the problem about getting yourself back into the field and the different split strategies. You got to be careful when you're tiptoeing back there, because you don't want to take yourself out of it. And unfortunately for the 04, who had just taken the spot from Wayland just a couple laps prior, it's going to end on pit road with the damaged truck.
Yeah, it's a tough break for that 04 team. They were doing a great job, but I'm sure they'll rebound for Pukekohe next time out with a strong run as well. But back to what I was saying about Pirate Bay Motorsports. They have 3 trucks in this field, and one of them's leading this race. They've never won in the Turbo Truck Series, so this would be a huge day for them if Zachary Fitzwater can get them there. It's just fantastic to see, because this is a small-time team. They got a partnership with Fingai Saitomi Motorsports, and they're making the most of it right here. Because Fitzwater's out here leading. We knew he was going to be strong. Austin Zorgan doing a nice job in the top 20, and Ali Ahmed making his first career start, hanging in there as well. But this would be a great day for Pirate Bay Motorsports if it all works out, as you see the 04 back on track.
Yeah, it's just great to be in a position where, you're working a strategy, working something different. Hey, we got nothing to lose. Let's try something. Maybe steal one here. And they're going to come to 6 to go here, with Fitzwater out front and not yet making a dive to pit road. So I think they're pretty much set on the strategy to just go ahead and see if they can go the distance as the 82 comes off pit road.
This is going to be really close with the 45, and they make contact! Oh. Fitzwater into the 82, and it goes off the track, and that is going to be a big time of loss, a big lost time. I'm stumbling over my words. Borak Sarikov goes off track off the bumper of Zachary Fitzwater, and that cost the 45 quite a bit of time, as it did for the 82. That 82's just had a miserable race, honestly. It's a real shame. They had a top 10 to start the season at Daytona, but it's been a struggle ever since. Hopefully they can right the ship at Pukekohe, especially.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because I was almost going to point out just a little bit ago, they were slow down there, and I thought they were coming to pit road for something, and evidently they were coming off pit road just now, and poor old Fitzwater, his run-ins with lap cars has been well documented, and it looks like he just unfortunately had another one today. But hopefully it doesn't cost him a chance at maybe getting stealing a win here.
Yeah, and it looks like he's kept a pretty solid lead over Bronson Minnick, who is holding down a solid second at the moment. We'll see how much time he loses on this lap. Yeah, maybe like 2/10, but not that much time in the big picture. We only have 5 laps to go, and Zachary Fitzwater, he's doing a nice job. He's hanging in there. And if he can stretch the fuel out and make it to the checkered flag, this would be a very popular win for the entire one-up community. Because Zachary Fitzwater, he's been in this series, in the one-up series from the very beginning. He's paid his dues. He's raced hard. He hasn't had the results to show for it, but this would be a big day to win on home soil.
Yeah, anytime you can win at a track that you pretty much consider a home track is it's something unlike any other. And I guarantee you, if he does pull this off, and they ask him later on, "Hey, what's your favorite win?" I would be surprised to hear him say it was here, But yeah, they're in a good position right now. It's just a matter of, can he manage the fuel? He's got, again, just under a 2-second gap back to second place. So he should be able to just kind of run conservative here. I mean, the ones that have really got to go, and again, we have not seen them yet crack the top 10, is Wayland and Shear. Namely Shear, because obviously Wayland, I wonder if Wayland got a little bit of damage from the collision with the 04. So he could have a little bit of damage and not be able to gain as much, but I'm surprised the O2 is yet to crack the top 10.
I believe only one truck that pitted around lap 13 has made it to the top 10, and that's Francois Chastain in the 1, who's now right on the back of Edouard Zhao for 9th spot. And as you can see, Aiden Smith, he's had a little bit of damage somewhere, and there's Whalen and Shearer quite a bit behind Francois Chastain, who's right on the back of some serious traffic. Zhao and Gibson side by side for 8th. And could Chastain get a run on the 98? Not quite.
Yeah, and this is the again, track position can be key. I know you got to do what you got to do, but track position can be king, and we're seeing it so far here today with the trucks that we saw that were pretty much up front since the drop of the green have not been able to make the ground like they were earlier when they were leading. So
yeah, and we also we also have to report that while one hometown driver is leading the race, the other, Austin Holloman, unfortunately for him, is out of the race now in that 73 truck. We'll get you replays of what happened to all these drivers involved in incidents after the checkered flag flies. It just we expected so many accidents in this race, we wouldn't really have time to cover them mid-race. So it's better to save them off to the end. But you will see what happened to each of these accidents after the race. But up at the front of the field, Fitzwater extends his lead, and he's coming to 2 laps of racing to go.
Now this is key. Again, he's just got 2 laps to make it. Very simple. Just honestly, at this point, the crew chief, all he's telling you at this point is just do what you've been doing. Don't make any mistakes. And you know they're going to come around here to 2 to go as we got another truck on pit road.
Yeah, that's Roger James in the 22. He was running solidly in this race. Now he looks to be out of it for Finguy Saitomi Motorsports. His first race with the team, unfortunately, looks like it's going to come to an early end. That is a heartbreaker, too, for Roger James. Now, both of the FPM trucks now going to likely finish at least off the lead lap and potentially out of the race for the 22. That's tough for Roger James. He really deserved a good day here. But like I said, for a lot of drivers already in this race, he'll have to go to Pukekohe and hope for better.
Yeah, as we look again back here at Fitzwater, he's going to come to the white flag this time. And if he doesn't hit pit road this time, I think it's pretty much in his hands at this point. And you wouldn't want it any other way as the driver to have the race pretty much in your hands, coming to the white flag, and just don't make a mistake. As the 92, I think, hit the dirt a little bit there.
Yeah, he's had a rough outing too, Brian Grigsby. The whole FPM team now had a rough go of it here at Oran Park. But for Zachary Fitzwater, coming down off of turn 12 to take the white flag, this is going to be a huge day for him as he takes the flag to start the final 1.6 miles of this race.
You can see I don't know if you can hear it here from where we are at the booth, where we are here at the commentary booth, but you can hear the fans here going nuts. You know, this is his backyard, and you know the fans are going to be happy. He's going to be happy. That team. I mean, this will be a very fun celebration here at the end if they could bring it around here one more time.
Coming through turn 5 now, heading up towards the bridge into turn 6. Pirate Bay Motorsports has never won a race in one-up competition. Zachary Fitzwater has never won a race in one-up competition. But they're about to achieve both of those feats together as they come through turn 9 for the final time. It's just one little flick of a chicane and then the finale at turn 12 to go. And here comes Fitzwater. He's got to keep it perfect, and he does. Coming through turn 12 for the final time and headed for home. Zachary Fitzwater is going to bring the Aussie Blue Ensign to victory lane for the first time in one-up racing competition. Zachary Fitzwater takes the win at Oran Park. A fantastic drive from Fitzy and Co. to bring home a victory on home soil. You can't ask for much better than that. Bronson Minnick comes home a valiant second on a no-stop strategy. Dmitry Bortnik comes home third, his best career finish in the one-up Turbo Truck Series. Giovanni Pena gets another top 5. That's an impressive run for him. And Samantha Jade brings it home 5th for her first top 10 of the season and her best career finish as well. Chris Harvey comes home 6th on a no-stop strategy. Dalton Sate in 7th on a no-stop strategy. Francois Chastain was the first driver who pitted to make it to the flag. He comes home 8th. Ahead of Josh Gibson 9th. And Aguo Zhao with his 3rd top 10 of the season. An impressive start to the year for the 98 group. And Jeremy Whalen just comes home in 11th, right behind Zhao. Tough break for the 83, but a fantastic run for that 45 truck. Zachary Fitzwater, he wins at home, and it wouldn't be at Oran Park race without another accident to finish the race, this time involving Nick Breeding.
Yeah, you hit all the check marks with Fitzwater. He gets his first win. It's the first win for the team, and to do it on Fitzwater's basically home turf. I mean, that you couldn't ask for a better race day, honestly, other than maybe a better start to the day. But you can't argue with the end result, and the end result's gonna be pretty good for him, that's for sure.
Absolutely, that 45. Austin Zorgan, the team owner, he said it himself. This team lineup is one of the best he's had in his racing career, and he has proved it here today with a trip to Victory Lane for Zachary Fitzwater. We had 6 official DNFs from this race. Roger James, Austin Holloman, Arish Sarkar, Henry Brown, Jacob Buchholz, and Levi Forley. We'll get your replays of what happened to them after this race concludes, which it has now. But what a job for Zachary Fitzwater. He did everything right, and now he can say he is a one-up winner at long last. But as the rest of the trucks pull into the pit lane, we'll get you a replay of what happened for all of our incidents here at Oran Park. So it looks like Levi Forley was side by side on lap 4 with Grigsby, and he just gets hooked. There's just nowhere for him to go, and you see Grigsby with a bit of damage, but for Forley, that was game over right there.
Yeah, that also pretty much made Grigsby's day the rest of the day bad for him too. That's why he was 1 lap down and off the pace.
And now we look at James Ellison's off. He comes back on the track, just clips that wall going into turn 12 and rides it around off of turn 12. That's where Ellison got his damage from, and that's a shame for him. He will finish the day in, I believe, 32nd place, which is, I'm sure, not what he wanted. So we now look at Borak Sarakov's one of his many incidents, and he just runs it wide off of turn 8, and it comes to haunt him. I'm sure that's going to be a sorry sight to see for the rest of the race. That 82's just had a rough weekend today, and it's come to a head in this race right here. So this was probably the biggest accident of the whole race. Henry Brown looks like he was coming to pit, but he committed way too late. Just bounces off that pit entry, and then Buchholz with nowhere to go slams into him, and Arish Sarkar right into the 10 truck. That's just not what you want to see. That was one of the concerns. That pit entry was a bit shallow, and for these 3, it spelled the end of their day.
And I think what kind of hurt that 70 truck too is he had the 82 that was down to the right side when he tried to make the dive for pit road.
And here is the big moment of the race right here. Logvishurin and Whalen off track, and with bad consequences for that 04 bunch. You really hate to see it for Arbonne and the whole Monster Motorsports team, but that's how it goes sometimes. And then here's another off track at turn 8 for Borak Sarakov. That's just hard to.
Literally carbon copy of the first time he went off, almost in the same spot and almost the same way. So
for the most part, yes. And you see now Eric Zenson off the racetrack along with Saryev. He clips the entry of turn 12 a little bit. Doesn't look like there's too much damage on that 6, though. Just wanted to cover all bases. You see Sarakov in the pits once again. Yeah, here's what happened with Fitzwater. Fitzwater just committed to the corner, and Borak didn't realize he was there.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just a matter of he was coming off. You got to give the leader a little bit of room, but at the same time, I don't think he knew the leader was where he was.
Oh, and for Ali Liara, a hard impact into the turn 12 entry. That spoiled such a good run for that 4 team. But like I said, just getting here was a good day for them, given the circumstances surrounding that team. And I hope they'll be back at Pukekohe for more action, because this is a team on the up. They've got some good potential. It's just time for them to harness it, and Who knows who they're going to put in that truck for Pukekohe, but hopefully they put on a good show for us as well. As it looks like now we get to look at Austin Holloman. He had an accident early in the race. Oh, and he just T-boned the end of that wall, similarly to what Ali Liara had a few moments ago. But for Holloman, that's got to hurt, crashing out of your home race like that.
Yeah, it's like we talk about the joy and the elation that Fitzwater is going to have, and I mean, this is pretty much the opposite of that.
Absolutely. It's just tough break for Austin Holloman. He's had some wretched luck in the Superstar Series as well. As we now look at Roger James going off track, is this going to be exactly what happened with Holloman? It is, and he gets wedged in there pretty bad. Tough break for Roger James. He was having a strong run. And you see the 49 of Ali Ahmed going off track as well in the 49. So he had a little bit of... Maybe he couldn't see through the dust that came up from Roger James's incident. As now, there's just... We had so many incidents to cover. It's amazing, really. But this was still a much cleaner race than we expected at Oran Park. Here's the final one we're going to show you. It's Nick Breeding on the final tour of the track. Same story as Roger James, just cooked it too hot into 11, and he paid the price for it. But with that, we wrap things up from Oran Park. What a fantastic day we had here. Some drivers might disagree who had a rough outing, but for Zachary Fitzwater, a fantastic drive to his first career win. You can't get much better than that, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's... if you're going to get your first career win, you know, why not at your home track, and why not in kind of... Granted, it was a bit of strategy, but still, to maintain the lead the way you did, you can't ask for a better way to earn your first one.
Absolutely. This is going to be a very popular win for the rest of the season. So from Ryan Griffin and from myself as well, we say goodbye from Oran Park Raceway. We'll see you again next time just across the sea at Pukekohe Park in New Zealand for race number 6 of the season. Big congratulations to Zachary Fitzwater and to Pirate Bay Motorsports. They score a massively popular win in Australia, and Zachary Fitzwater, this is gonna be a very popular win because this longtime veteran, he finally gets his due. He's deserved one for a while, and now he gets it on home soil.